Welcome to day 28 of the 30-day video challenge. Just a couple of days left. And once again, as I mentioned, I've already won the contest. And so still excited to finish out the series and complete what we promised because our word is our bond. And so today I want to talk about asking the right questions. And so a lot of times whenever we're dealing with a particular situation or people feel stuck, it's because you're asking yourself the wrong question. And then I find this situation also happens whenever you're talking, particularly with kids, but even in general conversations or relationships with other adults. So I figured it would be a great topic to talk about today. So, for example, whenever you're asking yourself, well, let's start at the very, very beginning. Whenever you tell yourself you can't, you're right. So, what happens is whenever you say I can't, your brain gets stuck or it just moves on. If you like, I can't do that, brain says, okay, and it stops thinking or processing what it is that you can't do. So that's why you don't ever want to tell yourself that you can't do something. Instead, you ask yourself, how could I? Once you start phrasing the problem as a how can I or how could I solve this, your brain goes into overdrive because it needs to solve that equation. A good example that we talk about is how many times have you watched a bad movie, but you watch to the very end because you have to know what happens, right? You're reading a book and it's a really bad book, but you have to read it because you need to know what happens. That's basically closing a loop. And that's what our brain needs. Our brain needs to close loops so that way it can move on and do other things. So therefore, use that to your advantage instead of to your disadvantage, sitting through a 2-hour movie and then going, why did I watch that? Which, we could talk about that a whole nother time. Christy and I have watched quite a few movies, and at the end of them, we just look at each other and go, what happened? All right, you see the credits start rolling, and there's so many questions from such bad plots. But I digress. So whenever you get yourself stuck and you don't think that you can do something, again, ask, well, how could I solve this? So that way your brain starts processing and thinking of ways to solve that question. That same process goes for kids. Instead of telling kids what to do all the time, this is one of the concerns that I see all too often is parents want their kids to be parrots. And that's not what they want, but that's what they're doing. And what I mean by that is whenever I give a child something, right? Or whenever anybody gives a child something, 9 times out of 10, what does the parent say? Say thank you, right? So they kind of swat them or scold them and say, say thank you. Thank you. Well, that's just teaching them to be a parrot. We want the kids to understand and solve their own problems, right? Shihan just gave you something. What would be a nice thing to say? Well, now they have to solve that problem in their brain, and then they say, thank you. By doing it that way, you're creating a better anchor in the situation rather than just giving your child the solution. By helping kids solve their own problems, we're helping develop their confidence and their self-esteem and that yes, I can attitude. As a matter of fact, yes, I can belief is our new life skill starting in a few days. So it'll be exciting to be able to use this exact process every day in the coming months with the kids. So same process. Whenever your child says, I can't do something. Okay, well, what if you could? How would you do it? Right away, they now have to start thinking about it. So instead of telling you, oh man, I can't tie my shoes. Yes, you can. It's just like this. And you do it for them. No, right? Oh man, I can't tie my shoes. Oh, okay. Well, I disagree. Let's just pretend. What if you could? What would it look like? Right away, even if they don't finish by tying their shoes, they're gonna start trying and they're gonna practice. And what we practice, we get better at. So that's one of the key elements that we like to teach here in the program. So once again, that's why my program is not about punching and kicking. Martial arts is simply the delivery system. We are working on getting the kids to think better, create and solve their own problem. Well, not create their own problems, but solve their own problems so that way they are better as they get into their teen and adult years. So ask the right questions. That'd be another one. So when the kids come home from school, how was your day? Good. right? There's no conversation. You're not asking the right questions. That would be another good one. For the kids coming home from school, we like to ask open-ended questions that require explanation. So, for example, who did you meet today? Who did you help today? What was one thing that went great today? What's one thing that made you upset today? So that way they can't give you a one-word good answer. Good, fine, okay, horrible. And then, we've all had that conversation where it feels like it's pulling teeth trying to get them to communicate. It's because you're asking the wrong questions. So when you start asking the right questions, right, you're going to get some resistance because the kids aren't used to hearing them and now they have to think about it. But the idea is to do just that. Get them thinking about the process. We have a couple of kids here. I ask them, hey, what'd you do in school today? I don't remember. So you're saying it's like, okay, well, I could throw in the towel and give up and say, well, fine, whatever. Or I could probe some more. Right. And so at that point, when I hear I don't remember, I'm like, oh, great. Okay. Well, what subjects did you have today? Well, I did math. Well, I did that right away. I'm engaging and I'm getting them to engage with me by asking better questions. So boom, boom, there you go. I think that'll do it for today. So therefore, ask yourself the right questions whenever you're stuck. How could I solve this instead of I can't do this? Same process goes for kids. Don't accept it from kids. Learn to ask great questions at the end of their school day. Open-ended questions are always much better because they cannot be answered with one word. Or if you have a teenager, they cannot be answered by a grunt, the monosyllabic teenagers, right? So that's one thing that we get rid of here too. We don't allow mumbling. Right? Look us in the eye, make, a full conversation, complete a sentence. All of those things are going to be key to their success as well. So that takes care of day 28, 29, 30. 2 days left. Looking forward to it. Well, not looking forward to the end of it, but looking forward to wondering what the heck are we going to talk about tomorrow? I don't know. Take care.